Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of Bible FC 24, an RTG edition. Here's a reminder of the team on screen, and here's what we tried to come up against. A sweaty team. In-game was doable. He lagged out after 30 minutes, so we went into a new game against this, an even sweatier team, a sweatier player in reality with the red Cruyff up front. I knew I was in for a ridiculous game. Straight off the bat, he goes through on goal, smashed it past Giroud with Rooney. It's 1-0. He then goes through again. Lineker into Rooney. Rooney cuts inside. I can't defend, and he finesses it past Giroud for a 2-0 lead. And then, look, we're barely still into the game. He gets it to Cruyff, the red Cruyff, and he punishes me for 3-0. And this is, hands up. I admit when I'm beat, I'm not going to waste my time and get battered. I hit the rager, and we basically crack into a new game. So we lose that one 3-0. We go into a new game. We play against this fairly solid Prem team with a team leader Alisson in goal. And this is what happens. He gets off to a dream start of Martin Odegaard for a 1-0 lead. He then, with Haaland, runs with the ball, plays it through nicely to Bruno Fernandes, who absolutely sits down Olivier Giroud, highlighting the fact Giroud should be sticking to his original position up front. We, though, get it to Dybala to slot one home, to give us an option for the Bible passage finally, to put it back to 2-1. So there's life in the game at this point, but the life didn't continue because Heung-min Son sweated it to Bernardo Silva for a 3-1 lead. And then into the second half now, Alexander-Arnold with a trademark cross. I can't clear it. I clear it straight to Diogo Jota, the man in form in real life, and he makes it 4-1. And then I'm capitulating at this point. I give the ball away. Haaland rainbow flick, and he outsides of the boots it. Trivela into the bins. He does his trademark celebration, and we lose the game 5-1. So it's pretty catastrophic so far, the episode. But we go into a third game. We come up against this fairly standard team, should we say? And I basically put my foot down early doors. Watkins into Dybala. We pick it up. We ball roll and we smash it in the bins for an early 1-0 lead. And then, literally not long after that, we pinch the ball off Xavi with Risa. Lukaku into that man Dybala, and it is the Dybala show with an absolute screamer into the bins for 2-0. It's the third goal of Dybala for the episode, the only guy that scored for us in the episode, and the guy couldn't handle it. It's his turn to rage quit, the opposition's turn to rage quit. We get a nice 2-0 win. We've got a few options for the Bible passage, the most important part of the video, which we will head into now.
Okay, so into the Bible passage, and we're going to go with a goal that we scored of Paulo Dybala in the 35th minute and read from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse time in relation to the goal time, in relation to the fact that Paul most likely wrote Corinthians. And this is what it says. So it's talking in the context of the confidence of verse 4 before verse 5 says, such is the confidence that we have through Christ towards God, i.e. that Christians' confidence in being saved, in being forgiven, in being redeemed is because of Jesus and what he did for them on the cross. And then in verse 5, the one we're going to focus on today, it says, not that we are sufficient or competent or good enough in ourselves to claim anything as coming from us, but our sufficiency is from God. And it just got me thinking, the Christian faith, salvation, being forgiven by God is all about grace, and it takes humility to accept and acknowledge all of us aren't good enough, none of us are perfect, we need saving, we need forgiving, and actually we need help in this life to be, better people, to be more like Jesus, and to have God helping us in day-to-day life. I think probably part of the resistance of people not coming to faith is a sense of pride, thinking, well, I'm good enough. I haven't done too many, bad things wrong in my life. And actually, why should I need forgiving? Why would God not let me go into heaven? Like, I've never murdered anyone. I've never done like really bad things. Like, surely I'm good enough. And that is a sense of pride of saying I'm good enough in life. I've done well enough. Like, I might not be perfect, but I've done well enough to be accepted. And you think, well, actually, if God made us, if God set the standard, and he set this perfect standard to kind of live up to, none of us can live up to that. We need Jesus to forgive us who lived a perfect life on our behalf. It takes humility to acknowledge that. I think it takes humility to accept, okay, if God created me, he's the one that sets the standard. I actually therefore would need Jesus, don't I? Because I'm not perfect. It takes humility to acknowledge that. And in many ways, I'm quite pleased that God has a perfect standard. You know, you think it's otherwise life would just be unfair. Nothing would ever be perfectly fairly treated. You know, our justice systems, our prisons, you know, people get prosecuted unfairly at times. They get given longer sentences than they deserve, shorter sentences than they deserve. People, you know, crimes get missed. You know, one day before heaven, if you had this idea of, you know, well, I'll get to heaven if I've done more good things than bad things, do I really like the idea that, you know, God would sweep under the carpet like, well, you stabbed your brother, you know, in the back a few times, and you know, you stole a few things from the shop, and you lied a few times, and you know, but actually we'll forget about those things because you never murdered anyone, so welcome aboard. You think, actually, no, I kind of want God to be fair with, well, there, you know, that time that the brother was stabbed in the back and, you know, the shopkeeper was mugged off. You think, well, that was still unfair. It might not have been murder, but it still wasn't just. Like, I'm kind of pleased God has this perfect standard, this perfect level of justice, that he always gets it right. He always, you know, treats things fairly. He treats us fairly. And actually, by grace, he sent his son Jesus to live a perfect life, to die for us, that we can be forgiven, that we can be made whole, that we can be seen perfect and spotless in his sight, that he can, you know, make amends for things we've done wrong in a perfectly just, fair way. And those that, you know, haven't been forgiven, he also will treat fairly, and that nothing will get missed, nothing will get swept under the carpet, you know. And yet there is a way to be saved for every one of us, if we look to Jesus and put our faith in him. So I'm personally grateful we have a God like that has a perfect standard. He doesn't compromise, and he's still been gracious enough to make a route for us for salvation. It just takes humility to accept we need him. And I would encourage you, if you're watching this today, you don't know Jesus, perhaps acknowledge, you know, maybe I need this saviour. Maybe I need to look into this a bit more, because if God made me, I need to take him seriously and his standard that he set, and be grateful for his offering on the cross in Jesus to make a way for me to know him, be saved, be forgiven, and be helped to be more like him in this life. So that's the encouragement for today. Hope you found it helpful. If you're a Christian, hopefully some helpful reminders. If you're not, maybe a challenge to consider the Christian faith. And yeah, thanks for listening. Subscribe if you're new and you want to see more content, and I look forward to catching you all on the next one.